Alan, he was fairly philosophical. Saracens are a brilliant team. This is their third title in 4 seasons. They're like the best team of the last decade. We're at a level here where you need to be perfect to beat Saracens, and Leinster just weren't perfect.
Yeah, they weren't. I think they started the game really well, and they imposed themselves, and they held on to the ball pretty good. So, but you just think some of the key decisions, before half-time, after half-time was a crucial area. And we always say that in sport, you go in it, how you feel running off that field at half-time can impact what happens in the second half. And the whole mentality and the feel-good factor in the dressing room. And Sarries ran off that field thinking, we've been battered here at times. We've had 2 props gone off injured. We'd have one of our players in the sin bin. We've been 10-0 down, and now it's 10-all.
Yeah.
We're going to regroup here and dust ourselves off, and then we're going to go out and start playing, and we'll win the second half. And they have a strong mentality, to be fair. They're a very powerful side. And I just think Leinster were a little bit shell-shocked, and I think they needed to start well in the second half, maybe just knock over a penalty to make it 13-10, play in the right areas. And they had a great opportunity with Gary Ringrose. He cuts back inside. Did another one with, I think it was Tyke Furlong, trying to get the pass away. So they had 2 kind of try-scoring opportunities. The one with Gary Ringrose, there was 4 guys outside him. There was 2, so it could have been actually a 4-on-1. Now the scramble defence, there was no guarantee that it would, but it looked like an 80-20 scenario for a try. And if Leinster went 17-10 there, you'd say, right, we can wipe off the try before half-time. That's done and dusted. We're now 17-10 up. Big statement second half. Here we go again. And coincidentally, it was Jackson Ray's break kind of from midfield. Someone missed a tackle in the back line off phase play that led to the Sarries try, which put him 20-10 up, and Scott Fardy in the bin. And you just felt after that try, then it was gone. 10 points. They have so much power. They can see out a game. They're cynical. They're aggressive. They're physical. Well, I think Leinster look back at the game, and some of the decisions that we associated with them last year, really clinical, good game management. A couple of areas didn't work for them on Saturday.
What, in chatting off air, you were saying you felt that maybe Leinster could have kicked to the corners a bit more and played possession.
Yeah, I thought they would have played. And look, to be fair to Johnny Sexton, you can't, he's been through so much, achieved so much, and he said it afterwards that Luke McGrath had an opportunity to kick the ball out. The clock was in the red. It was 10-3. We all see it. Everybody's on the sideline. It's different when you're out there. You're kind of in the adrenaline of it.
And so at that stage, it felt like if this goes 17-3, it's curtains.
But I did the one before half-time when Luke could have kicked it out, and they could have just went right 10-3 at half-time. They played, and Sexton said afterwards, look, they tried to keep going and play and get another score, and they box-kicked it on Billy Vunifola. It didn't work. Saracens came up the field and got the try 3 minutes into injury time. I just thought that was one decision that didn't work for them. They tried to actually, at times, and look, you've got to make the hard yards with your ball carriers, but too often, and it doesn't happen, Leinster, they got stopped on the gain line and actually back on their own side, which didn't really suit them. And then they're trying to play because they have this mentality of ambition to play, which is unbelievable, to be fair to them. But it's hard, and when you're not used to, and it's similar to the Ireland-England game in Dublin. We try to overplay at times, and that's what Sarries do. So when I say kick, not aimlessly kick, play a phase or 2, but just try and put it in over the wingers a little bit, play for a little bit of territory, and in the end, the energy was kind of gone out of their legs.
The collisions was the other thing that maybe helped to suck the energy out of their legs. You were seeing some stats that showed that Leinster were vastly behind in terms of the...
It was the gain line success and the force of those collisions. Like I said, you're running into Will Skelton, who's 125 kilos, and he's not actually killing you with a tackle, but he's actually stopping you dead, picking you up and putting you back 2-3 yards over the gain line. It's hard then to resource that. They're getting a flat defensive line, then they're shooting out of the line. You saw their second row, Cruz, hit Sexton twice coming out of the line. You can only do that if the collisions beforehand are dominant. So they kind of wait their moments, and to be fair to them, that's why they're such a good side.
So that's not just a function of size, that's a function of scheme as well?
Well, the size around Itoje, Cruz, Skelton, two Vunipolos, they're hard guys. You run straight at them, the chances are it'll be a collision right on the gain line, and you'll do well to win that gain line unless you put a bit of footwork on it. But if you're putting guys back over the gain line, that's a bit slow. Their numbers on their feet, you're able to charge forward all the time. And I thought there was times there where Leinster should have just pinged the ball down the field, play a bit of kick tennis, and even though Leinster kept recycling the ball and they kept getting back around and winning those rucks behind the gain line, it was taking a bit out of their legs. And the last 15 minutes then, the impact off the bench from Saracens was much stronger.
Yeah.
So because Leinster was chasing the game, if Leinster were ahead, they're an incredibly tenacious and resilient side who can weather any sort of a storm. And they did that at times in the first half when Sarries threw the kitchen sink at them and they come up with a turnover and they defend brilliantly. But chasing the game is hard against a side like Saracens.
Andy Dunn mentioned that Irish rugby needs to abandon box kicking.
It's not just Irish rugby on. It's everyone. Saracens kicked the leather off it with these box kicks as well.
Is it just basically a bad idea?
You go back to England, France in Twickenham. England kicked the ball 44 or 5 times in that game. They scored 6 or 7 tries. Everyone left Twickenham that day, and I said this: wow, what a performance! England were amazing. They played brilliantly. And then you look back at the stats and you see the kicks, the amount of kicks that they put in.
Specifically box kicking, like they went a bit longer against France, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but they still box kicked a lot. The frustration for people is around the box kicking is the way it slowed down. There was a match there a few weeks ago. Joe Marler, was it against Harlequins against? Was it Exeter?
Come on, now you're boring me. That one.
Yeah. With a bit of bad language, but that's the way it is. It's 3, 4, 5 seconds, and it's triple banking, quadruple banking at the back of the ruck, guys hugging on, making the ruck longer. Look, it's fine for us on the sideline to say that this is a tactic they're using to get a bit of stability, to get set, to get the kick chase and all that stuff. If you do it really quickly, you'll be a bit disjointed on the kick chase, but the game is being slowed down a lot and by those box kicks, and Leinster actually kicked more from the box kicks, but you've got to do that at times. Defensively, you've got to slow things down if you're in your own 22, but we see a lot of it where there's a chance to play and the scrum half goes no and he starts calling guys in. A lot of teams are doing that.
Yeah.
It's a real trend in the game now, and it's very frustrating to watch. It's a real negative thing. They're trying to find ways, even if it's negative, to win matches and just keep it simple at times, and that's fine if you're leading and you want to frustrate the opposition, because it does drive the opposition mad if you slow it down and you get organised and the kick chase is really aggressive. But the other thing that's a glaring problem in rugby is the offside lines.
Sexton mentioned it.
I just cannot believe how this stuff has not been picked up more. It's happening in every match. Leinster were doing it, Saracens were doing it, the side entries and the breakdowns, guys halfway up the side of rucks.
Explain what impact that has on the quality of the match then, because that's the main thing.
So if you've a ruck and the gain line there's a line across the field and it's a gain line, if you've guys standing over that, they're obviously going to get to the attack quicker. If they have to go back a yard and they can't sprint off this line really quickly, well, that gives the opposition a chance to play and put it through the hands, and maybe we will see a bit more attacking rugby rather than all these collisions around the breakdown. Plus, if I'm coming around the breakdown...
Is it hard to referee? Is that the issue?
Very hard. Look, Matt Williams said it on Virgin Media the other day, and he said it before, and I agree with him. A second referee could help this scenario, policing the breakdown. Now, sometimes the referees get in the way, but the assistant referees, they do help and they do call at times, but not as much. Now, it's very, very difficult. It's great for me. I'm above in the stand on the top tier and I'm looking down doing the commentary, and I can see, like, as the ball is being passed, they're halfway up the ruck. And it just means that even off the one-out carriers, Ger, those guys then are coming around, because as they're getting the ball, the defence is right on top of them.
Yeah.
So it's collision. So if that defence is back a yard or two and they can't sprint off the line, I can now, even if there's a flat line, a load of numbers there, I can now pick a target. I can maybe try and go between two defenders. I can put a bit of evasion on. I think it's something that really needs to change a little bit. Some people said to me, and Shane Coleman said it on breakfast, and you know what? He's saying, look, I like rugby. If Leinster weren't playing the other day, I probably would have switched it off because it wasn't a game that was attracting me to brilliant rugby. Now, sometimes the weather plays a part in the Northern Hemisphere, but I just think at times...
They were perfect conditions for a good game.
Perfect conditions.
And they're the two best teams of the last decade.
Yeah, they were. And look, sometimes in football and hurling and other sports, good teams cancel each other out. That's fine. But in
terms of the offside, the NFL obviously have the imaginary line in the pitch, which is the down marker for the first down marker. So you've got to get over that line to get your new set of downs. If we were to start drawing this imaginary line on TV of where the offside line is, then everybody would begin to see at home, that's offside, that's offside.
And you know what? It's not just to the quality of the rugby, but to the player welfare, these impacts, the concussions, which is massive.
Yeah.
The attritional side of it, the knocks, the physicality. Like at the end of the game the other day, it just went totally out the window, the offside line. Leinster were trying to run out of their own 22. Saracens were just... it was phenomenal how offside they were at times. And they were dead right. I do the exact same thing
when it's not getting caught,
closing out a game. And Sexton got hit 2 or 3 times, and this actually could prevent some of the injuries and the impacts as well. And I'm not saying Saracens. Leinster were offside a good bit as well. It's happening across the board.
I want to ask you a little bit about what happens next for Leinster, because I looked up the team for last year's Champions Cup final, and it's basically the same team. Easton Asewa started at 11, but otherwise the backline was exactly the same, and the forwards were almost exactly the same, except Dan Levy was 7 and Jordy Murphy was 8. Obviously Jordy Murphy's gone and Dan Levy's had that awful injury, so it's the same group of players that has brought them to 2 Champions League finals in a row. But we think Rob Kearney is going. Sean O'Brien was telling everybody on his Instagram stories that Rob Kearney's off to France, so it's either France or Japan depending on what you hear. He's gone. Jack McGrath is gone. And after that, obviously, Joey Carby was on the bench there, and Sean O'Brien has gone too. So it will be a different team, and they won't have anything like the strength and depth. That embarrassment of riches that everybody talked about, that was the last time they had that embarrassment of riches, was a year ago.
Yeah, but they still have some really good young players. Scott Penny is someone who was brilliant for the Irish under-20s, really good player. Caelan Doris, another good, brilliant player. And Max Deegan is someone that can step up. There's still, a lot of good young backs as well in the group. I think what Saracens showed us the other day is the power. And if you need, sometimes maybe you need one or two of these big powerful guys. If you go back 12 months ago again, when Leinster dominated Saracens in the AV, but 2 of Vunipola brothers were missing.
Yeah.
And they're a unique kind of guys. To be fair, there's not every team has these, because Cruz made 28 tackles the other day. He's just a workhorse. He's physical. Skelton is just a monster. Itoje, Vunipola, Jackson Ray is a massive number 7. He's 6'2".
James Ryan will fill out as time goes on.
Yeah, but even James Ryan the other day, for all the brilliant carries and the incredible work rate that he has, he had to hunch down an awful lot because that impact and that double team tackle was coming every time. So credit to him for that. But it's not panic buttons for Leinster. It's an incredible achievement, Gerard, to get back to a final again. They're very, very difficult to win. They're attritional throughout the year. You need a little bit of luck. If you go back to the start of the season when they beat Wasps in the first game, people were comparing them, saying they could beat the All Blacks. So there's not a lot wrong. I think fine margins the other day against an incredible side. And you got to say, in the end, it had that feel when you left that the best side won.
Yeah.
But you also had the feeling that those couple of incidents in the game could have been so much different before halftime, after halftime, crucial parts of in any sport. So dusting themselves down now and getting ready for Munster at the weekend is tricky. Last year, you think they win in Bilbao, you have a few drinks for the 2 days, you relax, you probably don't train much that week, and it's just so much easier to switch on and go, let's go again, because you feel great about yourself. All the sacrifices, all the training all year, it just kicks into gear and say one more shove, one more push, and that's what they did. And Leo made a number of changes for that game in Dublin, that semi-final. It's a bit different from this time because you're bruised and battered physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And Leinster
lying there awake going, this is perfect.
Yeah, Munster will be, and given the bit of negativity in the last few weeks after their game against Benetton, coaches leaving, bit of criticism from the outside, they'll be desperate to salvage something, and there's an opportunity for them. So it's a real intriguing one, that one on Saturday.
I'd make Munster slight favourites at this point, just by virtue of the week.
He's at it again. Yeah, he's at it again. He's talking us up.
He was delighted. Off air, he was like, this is a perfect situation for Munster.
Well, it is, but like, I wonder, Alan, is there kind of you almost want to be going up against a fully tuned Leinster side, because first of all, it'll give you a greater satisfaction if they win, or else you wouldn't get any false hope or any papering over the cracks.
If I was a player, I wouldn't care less. It's about just getting the result on Saturday. If Munster were to win, people would say because Leinster were bruised, battered, injuries, psychologically, they take away from it. If Leinster win with those situations and conditions, it shows that the gap is still there, and there is a gap. Munster have to produce an intensity that they did in Thomond Park and at Christmas, and there will be a real desperation about it. And it makes for a great game. Leinster are not a bad side now, you know what I mean?
No, they're not, but it's hard
and
to
they probably need to, readjust and bring in a few guys and improve again.
Yeah, so the point is they're not going to bring anybody in. That's apparently the story, is that they're going to, what they have, they hold, and it will be younger players coming through as opposed to big marquee signings. Every year there's been one or two players that they would have added, and you kind of felt like that squad was growing, but it's been a net negative in terms of the players leaving, I would suggest, over the next while. So we'll see what happens with that. Munster are 8-point underdogs. That's ridiculous for this game. It's a one-score game, and no one is surprised if Munster are standing over the bloody corpse of Leinster at the end of that game next week.
Yeah, but they'll be battered and angry, Leinster, and I think, look, they're at home. It'll be a tight one for sure, but I think I go back to that semi-final last year. Munster had opportunities in that game to maybe score, and if you don't take them, well, you're making it very difficult for yourself. So if they go to Dublin on Saturday, you got to take your chances. Munster might get one or two chances. If they get a good start to the game, they might ask a few questions, but we'll wait and see what the teams are later in the week. But it's still, for me, I don't think it's as ridiculous as you're making it out to be.
8 points is too much. It's a 3-point game, I tell you.